All right, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday. Is it Thursday, Dave?
Yeah, every day's Saturday, but yeah, I think on the calendar it's Thursday.
It is Thursday all day long. You guys, welcome to our live stream today. I just went to my Facebook page to make sure we are live, and we are, so everything's working great. All right, well, good morning. I am so excited today to have Dave MacArthur with us. He has been my mentor for many, many years, and he is married to his amazing wife, Carrie. They've been married for 29 years. They have 5 kids. And Dave, how many grandkids? 6? Almost 6?
On the way, yeah.
I love it. That is so great. They live in St. George, Utah. And he was a mechanic for 15 years, but now he is a millionaire with Isagenix. He's Isagenix's 69th millionaire. He made over $10 million, and he was the man of the year. And he was the man of the year. He's received so many awards in Isagenix, and he is incredible. He has the podcast Mechanic to Millionaire that is one of the top podcasts in America, and he just rocks it every time. Every time I'm out, every morning I'm out working out and I'm listening to one of Dave's podcasts because it lifts me. He's been one of my greatest mentors. And Dave, thank you for taking time today to out of your busy schedule to be with us today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet.
I love it. All right, so
this is cool. Like it's almost like a Zoom, isn't it, on Facebook?
Yeah, it's like a Zoom, but it's just live for everyone to see. It's just a Facebook Live. It's a cool way to do it. It's called Be Live, so it's a great app to have. So I'm going to turn the time over to Dave, and the affirmation that he has chosen today is. I have the unrestricted free use of time, money, and resources. So Dave, I want you to start out from where you came from being in that place, being a mechanic. I love the story about your bay window out in front of your house. Kind of tell us, where you've come from, and let's just go from there.
Okay, yeah. Well, that statement didn't used to be true.
Right.
It was like as far away from that as it could possibly be. And I didn't really know how I was going to accomplish that affirmation, but I had learned some principles, and so we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I was struggling. I was a mechanic. I had a paper out in the morning, and as I present, I ask if anybody's ever had a paper out. And there's always somebody who's had a paper out, and we don't recommend it. Nobody's ever said we recommend it. I'd get up at 4:30 every morning, deliver 200 newspapers, and every day, you guys, weekends, holidays, every day. And that brought in about an extra $600 a month. I mean, imagine the time commitment and the restrictions that put on our lives. No going, for Thanksgiving, going away any far distances, because I'd have to be back to do the paper out the next morning. So really the ball and chain that was just to give us an extra $600 a month. What else? I would fix cars at night after working all day. So I was probably putting in 16 to 18 hours a day pretty consistently, using Rockstar energy drinks to get me through the day. I really battled fatigue. It's something that I always battled. It wasn't because I was putting in that many hours. I love working. I love being engaged. But it just got to a point where mentally something wasn't right, like neural blockers or something was causing me to have this chronic fatigue to where you get to a point where you don't even care. You don't care if you're paying your bills or whatever the case might be. So the only way to battle that, really, I tried going a healthy route, but it wouldn't work. And so I just resorted to coffee and energy drinks. And my nickname was Rockstar at work, and because I always had a Rockstar in my hand. And those weren't cheap either. So, but where there's a will, there's a way, right? So I would drink 2 to 3 Rockstars, and we were struggling financially, but I still found a way to get those Rockstars, and I got pretty creative with some of those ways, but I made it work. And I knew that they weren't healthy and that they were going to just make it worse and worse, but it's what I had to do to get through the day. So I call that survival mode, just making it through that day. That was the number one concern. What else was going on? We had a window, like you said, on the front of our house, the big picture window that was shattered like a spider web, and I couldn't replace it. It was broken for several years. I could make, it was $600 to replace that window. And Jill, I would call the window place just to see if they were having a sale on windows. Like, I'm hoping, right? Like, they're going to lower the half price on windows, you know? $600. And but it's a true story. And, you know, I could look back at it and kind of laugh about it, but it was not funny back then. I mean, it was very discouraging. And like I said, I could make an extra $600, but it would go to something that was way more important than that window, like clothes for the kids, or, you know, being behind on a bill that you're getting a notice in the mail. Like, this is your third and final notice.
Yeah.
You know,
So then,
food.
yeah. So what happened? What was the switch for you? Like, what changed from being in that desperate place for resources, right, to being where you are now? Like, how has it changed, like, mentally for you, emotionally, financially? I mean, like, just kind of transition to where, you know, what happened for you. And
well, we're going to take a quantum leap from there to now. Life is better than I could have ever imagined, because I hit my goals very quickly once I started changing some things up. And I went, you know, I started accomplishing my goals. And my first goal was, you know, take Carrie to dinner and a movie on the same night, be able to go to a nice dinner and a nice movie, because we never could do that. And then get new tires for my car instead of buying the old used tires for $25, and then I could put them on, right? So there was a gradual transformation, and I think people really need to understand that, is that it wasn't like from zero to hero. It never happens that way. There's all these challenges and these stretching me and challenging me and testing my intestinal fortitude and my commitments and my discipline. But today it's bliss, man. It's like I have the unrestricted free use of time and money and resources. And, you know, I get to do what I want, when I want, for as long as I want. That was another one of my affirmations. So what, did you want to know what kind of got us from there to there, or what?
Well, I love that you started getting into personal growth, right? I remember you telling me that, I mean, we've been friends for so long. How long? 15 years. Yeah, 13 years. So we've been good friends for that long. But I remember way back when Dave first started Isogenics, and he was starting to get into personal growth, and he would tell him about reading the books, like in the car, at work, and while you were driving, and, you know.
Yeah, well, and I just want to preface personal growth with, I was always on a personal growth journey. Like, even back when I was 19 years old, I started reading books in high school. I dropped out of high school, you guys. I'm just going to be transparent. I don't fit inside that box, and I could now. I totally could now, but back then I didn't as a teenager. And I dropped out of high school, but I started picking up books and reading them. And I did get personal development, but it was more like the everyday general personal development. How could I say that? Like scheduling and setting goals and working your time and making sure that you're doing income producing activities. You know, I read those books, but they were essential, and they got me so far, but I got stuck, you know, and then here I was at 36 years old, still stuck, even though I'd always been on a personal development journey and being very faithful to my faith. But what happened was Lenny Evans actually handed me a book that had some very interesting principles in it. But prior to that, Jill, I got to go back to before meeting Lenny. I went to a dream workshop, and we made a vision. It would be termed a vision board now. I had never heard of a vision board back in 2005. I don't even think they were really, I don't even think they were being used then. I don't think that term, that's a new term, kind of like iPhone, right? So, but I went to this dream workshop, and they got me to write out my dreams in an affirmation type of way, but as though they were already accomplished. Does that make sense? So I was kind of like writing a journal, but it was a fictional journal of my life, how I wanted each area to be. And that was the turning point for me to start having the right doors open up. I could look back and clearly see that. If I can identify that and share that with people, where was the turning point? because I think my life before was a pretty normal, average life that everybody was experiencing on one degree or another, right? I don't think my life was unusual. I think most people experience life the way I did prior to, finding out some of these principles that I now know very clearly that we teach in the podcast. So, but I didn't know that back then. They didn't call it the law of attraction. The Secret, the movie hadn't even been out yet. There was none of that phrasing or wording like we use now when it comes to vision boards, right? And so, but what I was instituting was the principles of the vision board in that dream book. And I just wrote out my dreams, my health, my wealth, my time freedom, my impact I was making in the world. All of that went into the book, but you have to know something right now. All of that was a fantasy. There was no way that I wasn't even on a track that was going to show me how to get there. I thought I was on a track, but it didn't even end up being the track to run on. Isogenics wasn't in my life. It was just, which is the vehicle I use now that has given me this dream life and fulfilled every one of those things that were in that book. But I just want you guys to understand, I was being like a fantasy when I was writing a total fictional story about my life when I did that dream book. And I read it twice every day. And then I thought about it as often as I could throughout the day. So I was like kind of reinventing myself would be a way of saying it. And the only person I was trying to get to believe in it was me, not anybody else. Does that make sense? That's an important principle. I didn't care what anybody else thought. It was about me convincing me that that's my life. And that's what the guy his name was Doug Clower. And we spent 3 days in his cabin putting this together. And then I actually came home and did pictures, took pictures of sitting in a new car, took a picture behind a lectern where I'd never been behind one before, where I was lecturing in front of people. I took a picture behind one in the library. Took a picture at the vacation store. What do they call those people that help you find a vacation? It was a travel store.
Travel agent, yeah.
I went and took a picture in front of that store. It was closed, but there was a cruise ship on a poster. And so I'm pointing at the poster, like to the room we're staying in on that poster. And we had never been on a cruise. But I was like reliving that moment. Like, here's the cruise we went on. This is the ship. This is the room we stayed in. We took quite a few pictures like that. And I took pictures of my health and like working out, even though I was as far away from my health and physique as I could possibly be at that point in my life. So all of those things that I put in the book, you guys, were a fantasy. And Bob Proctor, I learned later, calls that fantasy to fact. I had written down the fantasy as though it was factual. And that might be crazy to some people. For some people that are on a personal development journey and they haven't been exposed to these other principles that are more subtle, that literally were the catalyst to change my life, they might just dismiss it pretty quickly and say, no, that's not how it works. So that's been my mission, is explaining those principles and helping people to discover them and lead them from one dot to the next, like a dot to dot. Right.
So I love that when you taught me to guard your focus with your life, like with everything that you have. So you expand on that a little bit. Like when you get that dream, you had that vision board. Now you are almost delusional at times, right? I remember you saying that sometimes you're like totally checked out because you're in your head and your kids are like, Mom, he's doing it again. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So guarding your focus with your life, like there's going to be dream stealers out there. There's going to be negative people who don't want to see you succeed, not because they don't want to see you succeed, but because of fear within themselves and change. And even your own mind will try and get you to think about something opposite of what I wrote in that book, right? So my mind's going to try and get me to think of something different. Like, no, Dave, that's not true. Just in my own mind. And then, so as if that wasn't hard enough, there's going to be people that you hang around that are going to be like, come on, get real. Your family's always been this way. We've always been this way. We've always lived on this side of the tracks or whatever, right? So guarding your focus with your life is, so what I put in that book, I wasn't going to let anything mess with it. I wasn't going to let anything challenge that. So it's kind of like the horse that gets the blinders put on. They can only see, they can't see what's going on over here. with your mind, you just have to like kind of seclude yourself while you're going through this transformation on your own, this new identity. And you have to really want it, because there's going to be changes that happen in your life. You're going to meet new people. Some of your old friends aren't going to be the people you hang around anymore. Doesn't mean you don't love them and you don't support them. It's just that they're not going to be in harmony with what I put in that book. And you can't be in disharmony with what you're wanting to be. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you just got to know that when you're choosing your new identity, is it something you really want? And are you willing to pay the ultimate price, whatever that might be? So guarding my focus with my life, turning the radio off, turning the TV off, because those are distractions. Mm-hmm. All distractions are equal. So if I'm not, you have to have a singleness of purpose. Thomas Edison said, I accomplish great things because I focus on one thing at a time. And everybody else focuses on 100 different unrelated things every day. Those are distractions. So I would minimize my distractions, and then I would stay focused and have a singleness of purpose with what I put in that book. And now I still do that. I did my affirmation 3x5 cards this morning when I woke up. This is my singleness of purpose. It's very definite. It's a very clear, definite purpose, a vision, right? Very spelled out like a blueprint. And I guard my focus with my life with that all day long. Otherwise, things will distract me, or I'll just, not where your energy goes, that thing grows. So does that make sense? I'm kind of talking in circles now, but really, there's going to be things that try and pull you away from that definiteness of purpose, and you have to know that. And that's why I came up with the phrase, because I realized I was watching what was happening. My environment, my own mind, and my own habits were trying to distract me from what I wanted to accomplish. So I just said, you got to guard your focus with your life.
So tell them about your 3x5 cards, because I know about them. There's some people on here that don't know you. They don't know me. They're just on here because they got alerted that there's a live stream going on. So tell them about what your 3x5 cards are for you and how you use them.
It's my singleness. It's my vision for myself. Without a vision, a people perish. Without a personal vision, you're not going to go anywhere. You'll just be all over the place. You'll be acted on rather than acting on life. Life will act on you and have its way with you if you don't have a purpose and a vision that you're committed to. So that focus, that commitment to that one singleness of purpose. So the 3x5 cards help me to maintain that focus. It helps me to get grounded in it. It helps me to get centered in it. And it helps me to start getting that fantasy to a fact, because it's written in a way that it's already accomplished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 3x5 cards as triggers to help me maintain that focus and guard my focus. And what I want to do is I want to be very clear on what is my vision. What are the circumstances? What are the scenarios that are playing out? What's my day like because of that vision? And you guys, I've written this vision, how I experience my life today. Like when we're done, I'm going to go work out. I can go work out any time of the day. I choose to work out somewhere between 7 and 11 o'clock in the morning, just depending on what's going on and what I want to give, attention to that morning. But I get to go work out today, right? I couldn't do that as a mechanic and as a paper out boy, right? So I literally have written on either in that book or on mostly 3x5 cards, what I'm living today. I wrote out these scenarios that I'm actually living today. And, the podcast really goes into that in detail. I actually have a YouTube on that at Mechanic to Millionaire, how to write out your 3x5 cards correctly. So if you go to Mechanic to Millionaire on YouTube, you can watch that video. On Facebook, it went viral. There's tens of thousands of views on it.
It's awesome. I have it as like one of my defaults on I love to go and watch. I watched that one probably 3 or 4 times. So I can just get my 3x5 card all set. And okay, so you are the master at the laws, at God's laws. And you know all of the laws. You've taught me so many of the laws. So one of my affirmations is I continually live the law of non-resistance. And a lot of people don't even know what the law of non-resistance is. So we'll just kind of wrap up with this, and then I have one more question for you. So will you explain what the law of non-resistance is?
Yeah, again, that comes down to guarding your focus. And what's going to happen is as you set that fantasy and you start reading it as though it's already a fact, there's going to be thoughts that come into your mind. They're going to be the negators, things that would negate that. Like, what are the scenarios that could play out that would thwart those efforts, right? So let's say that, what would be a good example? I want to do a figure competition. Let's say that I want to do a figure competition, and a negator would be a thought like breaking the law of non-resistance would be like, you could never do a figure competition because your body fat percentage is too high. That thought would be breaking the law of non-resistance. I'm resisting what I have written down on my 3x5 card. And what we resist persists. So we want to get rid of that negative chatter, whether it's from somebody else or whether I'm producing it in my own head. So if I want to accomplish this, I totally have to obey the law of non-resistance, which means when that thought comes up, Dave, really? Like, there's no way, I would stop it, take a deep breath, and be like, oh, it's so awesome that I won my figure competition for my age. Whatever I have on my 3x5 card, right? I'm going back to focusing on the objective rather than the challenges. The moment you focus on the challenge, whether it's a phrase going through your head or listening and buying into what somebody else says and making an agreement with it, that's breaking the law of non-resistance. So what the law of non-resistance really teaches us how to do in more detail is how to live the law of faith. Because it's by faith that all things are accomplished. So the law of non-resistance gives me more detail of how do I increase my faith. Don't break the law of non-resistance. And you really got to understand what the law of non-resistance is. I can't really get it across in this little conversation, but we can introduce somebody to it. Google it. We talk about it in the podcast. It's one of my favorite laws. Is it one of your favorite laws, Jill, the law of non-resistance?
Oh, yeah.
Because once you overcome that law, or once you live and get in harmony with that law, things start happening.
Yeah. So what is your favorite book that explains the laws?
Well, I have to say there's several. Let me give you like 3.
Okay, you guys got these because I can see the questions coming through on my end, but you can't see them. So this is a question.
Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. And remember, you guys, I just want to preface, these are all God's laws. They're his modus operandi, right? Like Jim Rohn says, if you don't like it, well, then wait till you create your own planet and make your own rules. But right now, you're a guest on this planet, and you have to live by the rules, whether God's rules, right? So, Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. Wallace Wattles, this is the one that began the real journey for me, The Science of Getting Rich, by Wallace Wattles. And then the third one, The Master Key System by Charles Haanel. And then I'll throw in a bonus book.
Okay, got it.
Bob Proctor, You Were Born Rich.
Yeah, that's the one I began with, was You Were Born Rich. That's what started my whole personal growth journey. And so everyone's like, what's the first book I should start with? I'm like, You Were Born Rich. It's kind of hard to find nowadays, but yeah, it's just a simple one to start you into the personal growth arena. Oh, Dave MacArthur, thank you so much for being on here with me today. I love you and I appreciate you, and thank you for being one of my greatest mentors, and you and your wife, Carrie. And so I appreciate you so much. And again, the affirmation for today is, I have the unrestricted free use of time, money, and resources. Dave, you have anything more to say?
Yeah, and don't figure out how you're going to do that. Just say that, right? And I would just say, yeah, and just in closing, that you guys, you have infinite potential within you. Each one of you, everybody does. Every single person on the planet has infinite potential within them. And all you have to do is learn the principles that are related to the thing you want to accomplish in your life. Once you put yourself in harmony with the principle, then you'll have that thing. And so principle trumps precedence. It doesn't matter how your life has been. It doesn't matter all the losses and all the challenges that you failed at, all your failed attempts. None of that matters. That was just a matter of personal development. Like going back to the beginning, when you said personal development is synonymous with success, but you've got to get the right personal development. So many personal development programs out there are incomplete. I'm not saying they're not good and they're not teaching good things. They're just incomplete. So every single person has the infinite possibilities within them to be and do and have whatever they want.
And you guys, Dave's podcast, he goes into these books. Go to Mechanic Millionaire on your podcast channel. If you don't have one, just download like Beyond Pod or something like that and go to Mechanic to Millionaire. Start at number 1, right? We want to start at number 1 because they go in sequence. And all these books that he loves, he like digs deep into these books and goes into them. I've just learned so much. And Dave, I am eternally grateful for you, and I appreciate you. And
well, we love you
for being on here today.
Yeah, thank you, Jill.
All right, you guys, have a great Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. And we love you. Have a fantastic day.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.